Hi, and welcome to Carolina Women. Erin and I are here today at FWDG. We are going to have a few good things in store for you during the program. Angela's going to join us, and she has a surprise.
She sure does.
But, oh my gosh, I wanted to show you how cute is this. So, go ahead. I have grandchildren
Grandchildren, I have children. We have a generation growing up with smartphones.
Exactly. What we were talking about as we were getting ready to start the show today was really screens and mental health. And you had an interesting conversation with your son that we want to share with you.
Well, I was having breakfast with my sons in Charleston, and my son Davis brought up the fact, just that by observation, that, and he had made a conscious decision that he was not going to devote his day to screen time. He said, Mom, like, look around, like, everyone's sleeping and they're utilizing about, 1/10 of their day to do something productive, and the rest of the time they're on their screens. He's like, just look around. And we kind of did one of these. Everybody at the restaurant was sitting on their phone, not even interacting with the people they were with.
Well, we were talking before. It's really interesting because from a mental health point of view, or even a health point of view, it's kind of fun now when I do an intake or I talk to people. I look at their genome, I look at their their family history, depression, anxiety, what they do,
diet, all the things.
I also look at their screenome, which
That's a new thing. Screenome.
Screenome. It's sort of like my biome is my gut. My screenome is how long or how often I use my cell phone or devices. And it's not a bad, that's what we're talking about. It's not a bad thing or a good thing, but I find it in my groups with kids that are like 8th grade, things like that. They're dependent on their phones. Okay, it's a habit for them, but when you take them away for over a week, they don't necessarily really miss them.
Right. And my kids have gone to camps and things like that where they actually do take the phones.
Yeah.
And you can tell a different sort of, their whole being is different. Their whole sort of cadence and, attitude.
Rhythm.
When they come back, they seem refreshed.
Well, one of the things I think you and I were talking about is, are we surprised by how much time we spend on the phone? Are we being passive? I told you, one of my clients was on 14 hours.
But a lot of that was used for work.
Exactly.
So that matters, right?
And so one of the things that we were talking about, what can you do? How can you balance that? What can you balance screen time with? Green time.
Green time.
Right?
Yes.
Screen time and green time. Even if you get up and run around the block or go out to the mailbox, or we're at FWDG, go check out one of the new displays. It gets you away from that.
Do we have to schedule that in
Yes.
as a reminder on our phone?
100%.
So it's like self-discipline, it's intentional.
And what we talked about also, and I think is kind of interesting, is our brains are wired for reward, right?
Yes.
And so every time we're on TikTok or FaceTime or Instagram or playing a game, we get a little shot of dopamine, a little shot of reward.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's only natural that we would seek reward. And so, that's sort of how all of this works from an evolutionary point of view, and why we get so
Kind of hooked.
habituated. Are you?
Yeah, of course I am.
Well, you're marketing and PR.
Right, so I naturally gravitate towards that, and but I am kind of self-disciplined, and I do make sure I get my green time. So I think there's a little balance there.
With digital marketing being huge, does that affect that is devices, right?
It is devices, and I think that there is a great use for your device
Exactly.
and personal promotion. If you have a business or a service that you're providing, you want to go utilize these great platforms. You have an audience there.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was taking a class the other day, and it had this saying in it, and it was, quote unquote, this is going to change the face of communication. This is going to disconnect people. And it goes on and on and on. And we're all thinking social media because it was a class on social media. No, it was from Plato. And the new communication wasn't social media, it was writing. because everything before that had been oral history. But now writing was going to
Same
change.
application applies to the social media, though.
100%.
So it was a brilliant, of course, Plato was a thinker. So.
Exactly. All right, we got a lot to get to
We
today,
do.
so stay with us. There's more to come here at FWDG on Carolina Women.